Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's crypto analysis. So essentially, just before I start off this video, I want to make two things clear. Over this crypto weekend, I am not taking any swing trades. I will be taking a break from trading this weekend. Just due to the hectic nature in the stock market, I do need a break. That being said, I will put out some analysis as to what could transpire, what the likely scenario is, and then just put a little bit of thoughts in terms of what has transpired. And one of the reasons why this potential short-term bullish pattern in Bitcoin and crypto, why I'm kind of skeptical about it. And first off, we're going to start by analyzing Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin has had this clear as day, this inverse head and shoulders formation is forming. And let me just be able to draw it out over here. So you can clearly see you have this beautiful left shoulder, head, and right shoulder, and your neckline is going to be this point here. So one could argue that you have broken out on a short-term hourly chart close, but in reality you haven't actually broken out yet. So you had your attempted breakout candle over here, and you have failed on every single occasion for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours to get a confirmation candle breakout. So this has kind of been sucking in a lot of people. There's been a lot of wicks forming over here, which is what's kept me out off to the sidelines. For some reason, I could miss this trade, it could break out on us, but for some reason, when you have an hourly breakout on the 1 hour chart, and for 8 hours straight, you can't get a confirmation candle, and now what looks to be a potential intraday topping tail, that is a little bit of a red flag in my opinion. And then the second reason that I want to put in people's mind, if you are planning to go long crypto and potentially playing this pattern for a breakout, is simply that the markets were exceptionally strong today, like the S&P and the Nasdaq, but Bitcoin lagged. Ethereum was much stronger, but is still in relative to where the pattern is. It's still pretty much similar to what Bitcoin's pattern is. We can go over Ethereum chart later. But the fact that you've now, for the 8 hour period, basically the whole stock market day, you failed to get a confirmation candle above, as well as the stock market was strong, the perfect backdrop for Bitcoin to break out was there. So this 3 minutes left on this 1 hour chart over here, it'll be interesting to see if we do get an intraday topping tail. So this will be your high in Bitcoin on the day, and you can see the bulls and the bears are currently fighting, and we really have 3 minutes left in this candle. It'll be an interesting thing to observe if we get that candle. So let me just take some of these lines away. I'm going to take these bottom ones. I'll leave the resistance neckline there just so we have a basis of a breakout to go by. But essentially this pattern on a technical basis is bullish if you get that confirmation. So if we simply check on a bigger time frame, the 3 hour chart, let's say, you still have that left shoulder, inverse head, right shoulder, and look at this intraday topping tail on the 3 hour chart. Now you have made a high, but you failed to close above that. If we go to the 4 hour chart, let's just see what the difference is. The same thing, you still have that left shoulder, inverted head, right shoulder, and you made a little bit of a topping tail earlier in the day, yesterday. So there's clearly resistance here. It's going to be a big test for the markets to see if they do get out. Flipping to the daily chart, you do have a little bit of a short-term breakout on the daily, which is that downsloping neckline that we're watching on the inverse. So it's going to be key to see if you can get a confirmation daily candle tomorrow to confirm the breakout. Obviously, everything starts with confirmation in the short term, so we'll watch the hourly chart. But you're going to need also a daily confirmation candle. If you get that daily confirmation candle, that's going to be a powerful signal. It likely sends you up to 25,000, that first resistance pivot. Let me just take that away. So clearly, if we get that breakout, you have a nice move up, a probable move up. But let's just analyze Bitcoin as a whole. So what has transpired on the price action of Bitcoin? You can clearly see that Bitcoin is now at support with its long-term trend line that we touched base on our other charts. You have your massive COVID capitulation, and you just hit that to a T. And the beautiful thing is that I also want to bring to your attention this new Bitcoin range that we just entered in. So we briefly tagged this range, but we're able to recapture and save the day. So this range is going to be key. It's basically from 20,000 now down to the COVID low around, or sorry, the 2018 low around 3,100. So in the event when Bitcoin starts breaking down, or if Bitcoin starts breaking down, and I'm certainly in the camp that it does, then we'll eventually start to see Bitcoin trade in this range. And once you break and confirm in this range, it opens up the probability that a move down to 3,100 can happen. So let's just keep that in the mind and start thinking about what Bitcoin would be like at 3,100 and what the whole financial landscape would be. Where would stocks be? They would probably be in the toilet as well. So it just shows you that the technicals are not saying it's going to happen, but now when you confirm in this range, it does open up the probabilities of a move down there. Of course, there's going to be bounces and stops along the way, like 13,000 will be a big level, 10,000 will be a big level, 6,000 will be a big level. Of course, the COVID low will be a massive level. But when you analyze stocks, and most of the stocks like Netflix, PayPal, classic quality tech companies are now trading below their COVID low, it just shows you that perhaps Bitcoin is just a little bit shy behind. So we'll have to continue to monitor that. If we flip to the weekly chart on Bitcoin, what's intriguing is on a weekly close, you pierced this, shattered it, found your support line to a T, and you were able to recapture on a closing weekly basis. But now that you've dipped your toe into this new range territory, it does favor that a move will eventually come back down. And notice how you close below the weekly moving average on Bitcoin. So there's 2 days left in this Bitcoin week. It's going to be pivotal to see if Bitcoin can recapture this trend line. If for some reason Bitcoin starts flushing down and confirms below this weekly 200, then you can bet that the probabilities significantly open up a move for 3,100. Obviously, it's not a straight shot. You will have the technical bounces, but it's there. So let's just flip back to the hourly and see what type of a close we got. So look at that, a new 1 hour intraday topping tail on Bitcoin. And you had it on a slightly increased volume candle, which essentially precedes the last several hours here, 4 hours. So it does realistically open the door to take you a minimum move back down to this 20,000 mark. So the fact that you are seeing distribution signals at this level is telling me that Bitcoin is likely, could potentially have a failed breakout here. Now there is a level that I would look to buy Bitcoin. There's this parallel channel that I was hoping to re-enter the Bitcoin trade at because I wasn't trusting this right shoulder. And simply, if we have this parallel channel connect with this pivot to this pivot high, your breakout zone, if Bitcoin flushes down into this 18,000 level again, 18.5, that's potentially going to be a great setup to accumulate some more Bitcoin potentially for that breakout. And the nice thing is that if it does flush down to here, you just have a pretty close pivot low to trade against, and you just stop out on a closing basis. You set whether it's an hourly, 4 hours, daily closing basis. You have the potential to have a little bit of risk, but a lot more upside if it was to break. So if you're looking to accumulate a little bit more Bitcoin, you can start buying it under 18.5. I would certainly be okay with that. That's what I would absolutely do. If Bitcoin somehow started dumping, I would also be looking to buy this trend line. This beautiful support, this parallel channel will act as some support, but we'll just have to continue to see if Bitcoin can and will break out. If we look at Ethereum, Ethereum's an interesting play. One of the reasons that Ethereum's an interesting play is because you had this massive sell-off move down. Let's just flip to the intraday chart as well. We'll flip to the 2 hour chart or the hourly chart. The hourly chart is short term. You do have this left shoulder in versus head right shoulder, so pretty similar to Bitcoin. But if we simply take the neckline, which is there, you can see that on Ethereum you've pretty much confirmed a breakout on the hourly chart. So that is certainly a positive scenario for Ethereum, and potentially Bitcoin is just lagging. But that was one of the drawdowns as to why I wasn't comfortable with playing crypto on a breakout right now. So it is interesting to note that Ethereum is on a relative strength basis holding up and performing a bit better than Bitcoin. Let's just flip to the longer term time frame, shall we? So if we flip to the weekly chart, let me just throw up the weekly, get my scale correct. So the weekly chart is giving us a little bit of a longer term perspective. But if you want to find out one of the reasons why Ethereum has stopped where it is and found a bottom there, simply if you have this move down, this massive sell-off in 2018, you found a new consolidation range. And this range you were chopping in for quite a long time before Ethereum ended up breaking out and charging up for new highs. And this is your COVID crash. But if you carry this parallel channel all the way forward and you connect basically your pivot over here to your pivot over here to your pivot over here, look what you hit to a T. And you have your two pivot lows over here. So you've clearly found support on this previous range that you were chopping in for just over a year. And that's just something truly exceptional about technical analysis, is there's always a reason why price will go to a certain level. And of course, just simply having that range has been amazing. Now, since you have tagged on that range, I do favor potentially a move back up to this 1472 level, which is your old channel that you were trading in. That will act as resistance. If you get through that, you have a downsloping trend line that'll act as a secondary resistance around the 1700 level. But crypto is certainly not out of the woods. There's a lot of liquidity threats and things can change on the dime. We've had some pretty hard, impressive sells as of late. We did manage to profit from this initial bounce, but we are out of crypto completely. That being said, I wouldn't mind picking some more up at the low end of the range, because you could be in a scenario now where you consolidate in kind of this, bear flag formation where you have a new little bit of a range. And if we find a tradable range, for instance, if we move all the way back down to there, the low, that's a 25% potential range or a 30% potential range. So there is opportunities when crypto has had a hard sell, it finds that new range of support and resistance, and it chops in before it breaks down. So I ultimately think crypto has had a massive move down and it needs to now chop and consolidate, digest this recent downturn before ultimately breaking lower. So we could potentially see something like where it chops back down to here, then it goes back up, and then eventually breaks lower into that range. So that's just kind of what's going through my mind in the crypto perspective, but I do like being able to find a range where a specific stock or an asset trades, and then you do have a tradable range. And when it hits the low end of the range, you have a tight stop loss, it mitigates your risk, but you have a lot of potential upside in the event that it does continue chopping around to digest the massive downturn. So we'll just have to continue to monitor that. If crypto does come to the bottom of the range, look to be a buyer. I will look to accumulate at that range. Flipping back to the weekly, since we've now tagged this support, I do think after this consolidation we break lower. There's likely going to be some support at the center point of this channel. You can see there's multiple times where we're chopping and this previous channel was acting as resistance, it was acting as support. You came here, it was support, you broke down, then it was resistance again and support. So there's clearly going to be some support at the center point of this channel around the 400 or 500 level. But ultimately it does favor a move once you start trading in that channel, just like Bitcoin, a move down to the low range. And that would prove to be exceptionally opportunity for anyone that has cash and has positioned themselves to buy the cryptos at the lows. There's going to be a lot of fear in the markets. It's going to be difficult. Even when you had this massive collapse, I was even fearful at times buying, but you have to listen to the charts and tell you where to buy, because it's going to give you the most probable outcome, and it takes away that emotional aspect, which is one of the most difficult things being a trader, is removing emotion and trying to think logically and trusting the charts. But ultimately, one of the things that is concerning to me that I do have to inform all of my members in Trading Capital is simply I have two crypto brokerages that I trade with. I used to be with Binance until Ontario's regulations kicked me out of Binance and made me switch to another brokerage. So I switched to Kraken, where that's my trading account, my fast execution service. And then I was also trading with BlockFi, where I had a larger nest egg in BlockFi, where it's a crypto lending platform. I buy Bitcoin or hold cash there, and essentially I earn a small yield. I mean, when it first started in 2020, 2021, it was not a small yield, so it was actually very nice just receiving that extra cash and relatively being in a safe position. But ever since the Celsius rumors and the Celsius poor business management, in the sense that they could be insolvent if Bitcoin hits a certain price, that really spooked me. I have to tell you firsthand, I've moved all of my assets out of every single crypto lender. I'm still on a crypto trading exchange, but I'm not with any crypto lending service. So I pulled all my money out of BlockFi. It's not that I don't like BlockFi, I just can't take the risk in the event that they have potentially made some bad malinvestments, and I do not want to be caught on the end of being the default creditor, where they can essentially freeze your withdrawals and take your money and you're on the hook for their bad investments. Just potentially what like Celsius is going to be. And one of the reasons what really made me drive my decision to pull my cash out is they did receive a bailout from FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, basically a $250 million loan. If a company did not require another round of credit and loan, they would have had their investments allocated properly, and they would probably have not have had to been bailed out. And the crazy thing is that I do think crypto is going much lower. So I think crypto can still fall basically another 75-80%. And the amount of liquidity strain it would put on these lenders, if they're already getting in trouble now, and let's say we do have another 50 to 80% fall, in my opinion, mathematically, if they're in trouble at these prices, there's no way they're going to survive. So I'm just playing cautious. I hope that BlockFi does survive, because I do like their business concept and they have treated me well over the last 2 years. But it's just a risk I cannot take right now. And certainly I am about preserving capital rather than, having the risk of losing it. So I did move all that out of BlockFi. That being said, I do think crypto is likely to get that bounce, but just trade it cautiously. I mean, the intraday signals to me are kind of a little bit of alarming signals, considering the markets were up pretty substantially today. You would have expected Bitcoin to get a move. And the daily chart on Bitcoin closes in 45 minutes, so obviously that's an important candle in how it closes. But I'm not liking this intraday topping tail. I'm not liking the longer term intraday topping tail as well. You kind of have these reversal candles that are just keeping you in check, and you failed confirmation for essentially 8 hours straight, which is not really a healthy thing when you're analyzing a potentially bullish pattern. So I hope this analysis on crypto and Bitcoin helps. That being said, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Trade smartly if you're going to play in the crypto space. Things change on a dime. Less is more, but overall, have a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Thank you again for being members and subscribers. Please give